I'm sure that he got some time for doing that, and because that was the last time I've seen him. But over the years, like I said, when I was a young man, I met him, and they used to live in the attic apartment on Trumbull. And then as years passed, I've seen him here and there and stuff like that. And when he told me that story about him and his old lady, we was on Grand River in front, close by the library, and the library's on Grand River, but it's on the back street of Trumbull. And but even after he told me that story, I still told him, man, you better be careful, somebody's gonna kill you, And but after he told me that story and I left, I was with some friends of mine, and I left, and I was like, I told my friends, I was like, wonder why he told me a story like that, I think I wouldn't want to share something like that with somebody, But anyway, he did, and I guess he just, he basically didn't care what he said or what he did, basically, But he was a character, And but yeah, that dude was something else, And he's no longer around anymore. But that's something else, man. But he was some character, that was for sure. And on Trumbull, a gray-headed dude named Roger, he had a little party store in the basement of the corner building on Trumbull and Selden, and it was called Rogers. That was the name of his store. And this guy, when he came to the neighborhood and opened that store, everybody liked the store because he not only sold, beer, he sold regular stuff like stores did, but he had a lot of, penny candy and little toys you can buy and stuff like that, where the other stores didn't have that, So all the kids in the neighborhood, that's the main spot they went to. And years later, I would go to that store here and there and stuff like that. And then one time, me and my friends went over there and had some drinks with him and stuff, because he was a drinking man, anyways. And this is when we're all grown then, and we go over there and have some drinks with him, talk to him for a while, stuff like that. And then this lady that was down there, big old lady, she was like, "Hey, can y'all give me a ride home?" And we was like, "Where you live at?" She said, "I live down Selden, down by the projects. If y'all can just take me and drop me off." And then we was like, "Yeah, we could do that." And then Roger got me and took me to the beer cooler. And he was like, "Y'all can take a beer with y'all if y'all want." And he said, "But hey, I want to tell you something." He said, "Don't take that lady nowhere." He said, "Because she's going to have you take her somewhere, and then there's going to be a bunch of guys waiting on y'all." Even though it was three of us, he said, "Just leave her here." He said, "Y'all get y'all a 40 ounce each, and then y'all leave." And then I said, "All right, I appreciate it, Rog." And we left. And we left the lady there. So I guess she ended up having to walk home or whatever. But so he knew, even though she was down in his store and stuff, he knew, about her or something like that. Because he'd known me since I was a kid. So he was giving me heads up on what was going on, And then later, when we got in the car, and they was like, "Are you gonna get that lady a ride?" And I was like, "No." And I told them the story, and they said, "Oh, okay, cool." And so we ended up leaving. But years later, I found out that Roger had got shot and killed, in his store. And I can't remember who told me that. I don't know if it's my kid's grandfather, because he used to hang out there sometimes. My dad did, and all that. But it was either there was a big lady that lived in the corner apartment building, and her name was Norma, and she was a real nice lady. And her and some other people used to sit on the porch of the entrance of the building. They used to hang out there, in the summer all day long until night, every day. And that's what a lot of people did back in the day. They'd hang out on their front porch and whatever they were doing, cooking out, drinking, whatever, or just conversating or whatever. That's just the way it was back then. But I don't know if Norma's the one that told me about Roger or if it was my kid's grandfather. I don't remember. But it was one of the two. It might have been Norma, because the reason I'm saying that is because years later I also went back to the neighborhood and went to George's store, which is across the street from Roger's store. And then Norma was actually working over there at George's store. And see, she known me ever since I was, little too. And so I don't know, she might have told me, or Chief might have told me. I'm not for sure. But anyways, I thought that was crazy because Roger, he was good to all the people in the neighborhood. And, you know, I, I don't, I think the story that I heard was somebody had tried to rob him in the past, and he ended up sending that guy to jail by, going to court or whatever. And I think when the guy did his time and stuff like that, I think he came back to retaliate. I think that's what happened. But needless to say, Roger carried a gun too. But the thing was, I guess the guy caught him with his back turned, or he didn't know, or didn't realize who the guy was, or what the situation was. But anyways, that's what I heard, that he had got killed, And I don't, like I said, I don't know if Chief told me or Norma told me, but one of the people told me about it, and I thought that wasn't good because Roger was good to a lot of people and stuff. He used to cook out on the sidewalk, and he had this big barrel grill that he would cook, ribs, wings, hot dogs, hamburgers. He would just, when he'd do a cook, he would cook a whole bunch of food, and so he would really hook it up. And but he was a good dude, and so you know, and a lot of times, over the years, I've seen a lot of good people and met a lot of good people, and a lot of times, for some reason, you know, people take out a lot of good people. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just jealousy or what it is, but sometimes you see a lot of good people go and you wonder what's the situation on that, that's being such a good person, you know what I mean? But who knows, but anyways, he was a good dude. And so that's that was good store when he came to the neighborhood and stuff. I used to wonder how when he got the store going, I used to wonder how they got them because they had big coolers in there, for the milk, the eggs, the beer, all that. And I used to wonder how they got them big coolers in there because I don't know if they just because it had a big window as you walk down the steps, and then it had like a doorway. But maybe they took that window out and stuff like that and took it through there or something. I'm not for sure, but when I was a young man, I used to wonder how they got the big coolers in because that was a basement store. And, you know, I never did ask them how they got it in there, but I always just was curious how they got it in there, Because we actually seen them come and, come and go when the store was first starting to open. And but we never seen them move the coolers in, so they might have did that when we was in school or something like that, or when we was not home or something. But that dude Roger, he was a straight dude, friendly with everybody in the neighborhood, you know, and and like I said, he had a lot of neighborhood kids go down there and buy penny candy and toys and stuff like that. But what was the trip about him though, about Roger, is okay, he had, and this is a lot of stores had this, but he had like the bulletproof glass all around the counter and stuff like that. But all his penny candy and stuff was outside on shelves in the front. So that he just had a lot of different things, and out of all the people that was going down there getting candy and stuff like that, that was something that I would say that you would keep in the behind there and just let the people pick it out and then you just get it. And I think that's what he did later, but when he first opened, he had all that stuff right there, and you couldn't really tell.